Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Monday, April 1st, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread for today? First card we are starting our day off with today is Justice in its reversal. I am not surprised to see this card today, specifically because one of the things that we've been talking about a lot during this eclipse cycle is that feeling of the energetic intensity building up. One of the things that we bring up when we experience these eclipse cycles, it's not the fact that it makes you feel energetically different. It typically and traditionally just takes what you're feeling and starts to amplify it. It puts that like megaphone on it to a certain degree. This is why we've been seeing it's really important during this time to be going through any of these processes of making sure that you're grounding, making sure that you're moving a lot of that feeling of anxiety into excitement, doing a lot of that heavy energetic work. It's giving us a little bit of that princess in the pea effect to a certain extent. That small thing that feels like it starts to amplify or it starts to really kind of bother you or get to you to a certain extent. Also, adding to this intensity right now, we've got this Mercury retrograde. So even at a time when things start to slow down or things start to get difficult, we also have the amplification of that energetic feeling coming to play. Masculine and feminine energy in the divine union frequency. This is where we see a lot of this energy is setting their own sights and intentionality towards right now. Because this is one of those moments that being able to observe, being able to assess what feels like it is in dysregulation allows you the opportunity to bring it back into a better sense of balance. I need to stress, when we see cards like this during periods of time, it can be very easy to allow yourself to feel energetically triggered. This could also create that sense of energetic frustration to a certain extent. So coming through that period, going through that process of trying to find that sense of dysregulation, coming into a point of balance is something that's either going to be happening today on the internal level or with a lot of external path work, potentially even with counterpart energy. Masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union right now. This is that moment that we see, because what is happening right now for a lot of the energy coming into the divine union right now is the fact that there's that feeling that you already are there. A lot of this energy right now, especially over the work that we've been seeing that has been happening over the last few weeks, has been moving with a lot of determination, building that energetic connectivity point with another. But does that effectively show that it's been able to have that point of tangible shifting? Not so much. This energetic connection that we see that is happening for so much of the energy coming into divine union feels like it has been energetically tested, if you will, by external factors or potentially within the self, those feelings of self-sabotage, recognizing these patterns, all of these things feeling like they've been acting as blockers for you to come into divine union. What is we've been seeing over the last few days? A lot of this energy has gone through that process of being able, with a sense of intentionality and integrity and commitment to path work, pushing through despite those energetic obstacles. And that is that moment that, again, we see that a lot of those hurdles, a lot of those obstacles, they don't feel like they're energetically separating energy so much as it's energetically fortifying it. So what are these energies doing in the face of circumstances or situations that feel like they're not in regulation? They are doing a lot of the same work that we find that the energy in the heart of the divine union is doing, setting their sights on how to tangibly create that sense of balance to match the energetic connection that a lot of this energy is feeling at this time. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This has to do right now with the topsy-turviness that we are potentially energetically experiencing between the lessons that the feminine is holding firmly to right now versus where we see that the masculine energy is. Bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Specifically because as we identified, these energies are both on healing journeys right now. The problem with that healing journey is it's a little bit further away from one another than it has been in quite some time. Why is that energetically happening right now? Feminine energy, a lot of the energy in separation coming through that karmic work of recognizing and identifying, not wanting to feel like they're pulling someone energetically on their path, wanting to have that feeling of the energetic counterpart that is voluntarily moving in the same direction. For this reason, we even recognize that a lot of the feminine energy, while they're building new energetic connections right now, potentially with counterparts, this is that moment that is the amplification point, especially if the feminine was starting to feel some kind of emotional or passionate connection with an energy, almost pumping the brakes, if you will, slowing things down, basically looking towards that energy and articulating and asking what the manifestations goals are. What are the desires? What does the pathwork look like going forward? We're also seeing here that a lot of the feminine energy in this modality right now is being very energetically resistant, if you will, in relationality to expressing their own manifestation goals. And that's not coming from a state or space of the feminine not wanting to share that, but almost the feminine energy wants to see evidence that the masculine has that same level or degree of intentionality. This is almost the feminine energy saying energetically, I want to build with you, but I want to make sure that that is something that we are doing together, and you're not just taking what I'm saying to you and coming into a verbal agreement that might not necessarily lead to tangible action going forward. This is because a lot of the feminine energy is still energetically healing from circumstances and situations wherein they may have felt that this occurred. That is why we see even now that this feels like a moment of potential energetic resilience, but also potentially a little bit of energetic frustration at the same time, because this is that moment of the feminine wanting to do this, but almost holding themselves back because they feel they energetically need to. That is the sign of a good healing journey, because that is that moment that we recognize and identify that what we are doing might not feel easy, but that doesn't mean that it isn't necessarily the right course of action. Masculine energy and separation right now, one of the things that we are energetically recognizing and identifying that you're going through right now is this moment that if you are in separation and you are now trying to lead forward right now, potentially even putting some distance between you and another energy due to the fact that you recognize that when you build in a space and place of illusion, what you basically do is you trap yourself in that same world of illusion. A lot of the masculine energy learning and working on this journey right now of wanting to build forth with feminine from a state of openness, honesty, and clarity in order to energetically create what you are aspiring and desiring in your own future. One of the hurdles that we're seeing is if this is leading to energetic breakthroughs right now for a lot of the energy of the masculine, even if in separation, there is that foundational moment where seeing that breakthrough may have created a moment where it doesn't necessarily amplify the direction to put that pathwork on. That's because we've been seeing right now that for a lot of the masculine energy, and this is either something that you are receiving internally right now or something that you may be tangibly discussing with another energy. This is simply that moment of recognizing and identifying to a certain degree that need or desire to be able to state with a lot of certainty what your intentions are at this time. A lot of that moment right now could be feeling at this time. A lot of that masculine energy almost going back into separation or isolation, doing that internal work, taking that necessary internal calculus into play to try to identify and articulate what direction your heart is motivating you towards. This is even more energetically difficult right now for a lot of the masculine energy experiencing this, because this is almost coming through with a higher degree of vulnerability, especially if you're on that path of healing, because for a lot of the masculine energy going through this right now, having that point of recognizing where you want to set your energetic heart, what direction that looks like, is almost requiring you to energetically relinquish or release the outcome in the process of moving forward with that intentionality, because that's that moment that shows that's a feeling of purpose. What is that feeling of purpose? We move with certainty into a certain direction, and we energetically relinquish the outcome for the sense and the recognition point that moving on that path in itself is the work. It's not where you're going, it is taking that journey. Even so, for the masculine energy right now, this is feeling very difficult, because that's that moment that you have to, as we said, energetically relinquish the outcome to a certain extent. And even that could potentially bring those feelings of, again, anxiety, fear. But for a lot of the masculine energy in this modality, undoing that necessary unpacking work, unpacking your own resistance in terms of relinquishing the outcome, that in itself is helping you recognize and understand how that feels like the right thing to do. Because we don't want to move towards things just because they're energetically easy. We want to move towards things and recognize that our pathwork is such that when we know the direction that we want to move in, we always move in that direction, regardless of the energetic outcome. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, second card in our 5-card spread for today is Six of Swords in its upright. So even now, there's a lot of this energetic intensity that we are currently experiencing. I'm telling you, I understand this is some heavy energy to be navigating and dealing with right now. It doesn't always feel really great because we see here that even now, whatever we're experiencing during this eclipse cycle, it starts to energetically amplify. So even now, this is that moment that we are seeing the expression or the feeling of energetic surrender. Specifically for masculine and feminine in separation right now, this is that feeling of, again, the maturation process of learning the lessons from the past, carrying those lessons with you to be able to correct any imbalances that you're currently energetically experiencing. For a lot of the masculine energy right now, this is that moment of potentially feeling in separation, older, wiser, holding forth, utilizing that grief, letting it serve an energetic purpose, because that sense of recognizing and looking back on the past, potentially even with a moment of energetic surrender, even that feeling of potentially looking back and wishing that you could adjust something, what does that feeling energetically allow you in the present? Having the moment of energetically looking back and wanting to desire to change something gives you that sense of energetic understanding on what you need to do to be able to modify and make those accommodations in the present. And we see even now that energetic feeling, it's somewhat sobering. It's a hard, energetic lesson. But again, that is that commitment of almost looking at something and saying, I can't go back into the past to put that energetic lesson. The only place I can energetically put it is the present. So we see even now that ability, and even for a lot of the masculine energy right now in separation, that sense of observing and looking at past situations and saying, is there something I can energetically fix in the present? This is why we see right now for a lot of the masculine energy, this is a lot of that internal journeying in terms of helping identify what that energetic direction is that you are setting your purpose or your intentionality towards right now. So even now, this is a lot of intentionality coming into play. It's just hard. It's sobering when we move with intentionality because it really requires that sense of intentionally moving in a specific direction. Feminine energy, you are also doing this work in separation right now. The key difference for the feminine energy doing this work right now, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, is that sense of energetic resilience that's coming into play. Because we see even now this could be feminine energy that is doing something that they're not necessarily feeling very eager or overwhelmingly positive on. This is hard work. This is potentially a lot of the feminine energy starting to build an energetic connection with someone and almost pulling away because they're not necessarily seeing that intentionality or that energetic purpose. For a lot of the feminine energy, this is very hard because this is the feminine energy feeling that sense of energetic anxiety of potentially making that wrong directional choice. But what is the feminine energy affirming to themselves that is going through any of that energetic conflict in the present? This is feminine energy, again, looking towards the past experience, letting that be the sobering note, if you will, that reminds the feminine energy why they are moving in this way. This is feminine energy that is almost willing to create that energetic disruption point in the present, specifically so they don't repeat the lessons of the past. This is the feminine energy, and this is why it's a little bit more energetically difficult for feminine energy doing this at this time, because this could be that feeling of implementing or applying something that you haven't before. So when we start to put these lessons into practice, there's that feeling of energetic uncertainty because we don't know what the outcome is. But what did I just articulate and identify is the sign of energetic purpose. Doing something because you know it is energetically right, even if you're not sure necessarily what that outcome will be. That is that moment that we see that for a lot of the feminine energy going through this right now, that is doing the hard thing, even if it isn't doing the right thing, even though it's not necessarily the energetically easy thing. Recognizing and identifying the patterns that you want to break to be able to come into new progress, new energetic outcomes. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency right now. This is that energy of doing a lot of the work to come into that point of where we see that is happening right now. Why is this feeling a little bit like the cart before the horse right now? Because for a lot of the energy coming into divine union frequency, there was this energetic feeling, this energetic expression of having had the bond between you and the counterpart energetically tested in some capacity, in some degree. That was either going to feel like an internal testing, experiencing that feeling of pushing up against your own ability to self-sabotage circumstances or situations, recognizing your own energetic patterns that may have pulled you out of divine union in the past, or feeling that amplification in a very tangible way in the world around you, feeling like circumstances or situations were not necessarily helping to navigate you toward an energy, but almost making it as difficult as possible to be with an energetic counterpart energy. What is happening right now for a lot of the energy experiencing this? This is that affirmation and commitment that's strengthening. Having that moment, feeling that imbalance didn't separate these energies. The energies that were separated from this have come into separation from it. The energy that experienced that felt that level or degree of the fact that situations and circumstances do not energetically change us, they reveal us. And that's the energy that almost got stronger. The bond between them got stronger, having been energetically tested to a certain degree. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy moving forward in this way, that is also that moment of potentially feeling like you are continuing forward into that pathway. And that's that moment that feels like the energetic heart expansion, because as we said, this energy isn't pretending that there was no past prior to coming into this point. They're utilizing all of that path work, anything that didn't work in past situations and certain scenarios. They're almost rifling through their own junk drawers, if you will, to recognize and identify, utilizing that right now as the energetic lesson to help steer your ship going forward. That's that moment that almost feels like that sense of energetic consolation, because that's that moment of feeling the amplification of anything that didn't work in the past, now helping you steer clearly into the energetic future. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union right now. This is that modality of effectively, again, working to make sure that you're working towards your manifestation goals, but not energetically miserable in the process. For a lot of the energy right now in the heart of the divine union, that ability of recognizing, working so hard energetically right now to your long-term path work, that was that reminding point, especially for a lot of the energy in this modality, having recognized that you may have inadvertently even kind of walked into some of your past manifestation goals, of recognizing and identifying that if you're in that point of lowness now, being able to manifest something isn't going to pull you energetically out of it. It's not like getting something external is going to energetically shift your own internal energy. This is that moment of almost energetically recognizing that sense of satisfaction is something that needs to be cultivated and curated in the present, because the circumstances and situations aren't going to energetically change you. That's why we see even now there's a lot of energetic discernment that is potentially happening right now in terms of the counterparts' energies in the divine union, looking towards one another and saying, are you energetically happy? Are you energetically content? Because that feeling of contentment isn't received by reaching a manifestation goal. Your feeling of energetic contentment is what you will be experiencing in all aspects. So we see even now that that ability to do so is that sense of recognizing what you feel you can energetically change in the present to make sure that even if you're moving towards a manifestation goal that may create a point of energetic easement in the future, you identify and recognize that isn't going to energetically change how you are energetically feeling in the present. You're just going to be in the same place. You're going to be, if you have the same feeling, in a different energetic place. The place isn't going to change it. You're still manifesting the same energy. So this is a lot of that internal path work that's happening right now in terms of looking towards the other and saying, are you energetically happy? Are you energetically content? Because that is the modality of the energetic connection that we are taking with us as we go forward at this time. Third card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here, we love this because this is that moment, that Page of Swords moment. So this is that amplification point of taking some point of energetic action. For a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency, this is about not saying, oh, things will get better at this point of time. I will be happy at this point of time. This is that moment of saying it needs to be now. You need to feel that sense now, because that feeling of having that degree is that moment of understanding that that energetic frequency that you're carrying with you in the present present is your energetic frequency. Wherever you go, you're taking it with you, as it were. So that's why we see right now a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency is having this either feeling like a moment of personal assessment, or working right now with counterpart in terms of recognizing and saying, are you energetically happy? Is this a space and state that you feel energetic excitement for? Or are you carrying too much anxiety? Is this a moment that you're feeling that this is too much energetically heavy? Because this is the difference energetically that we are seeing right now towards energy that feels like they are moving in alignment with their own path, even as they move towards their own energetic higher versions of self. Why is the energy in the divine union utilizing this level of energetic discernment so carefully right now? Because this is the energetic expression between the feeling of having something that you aspire for someone to become versus seeing that energy that desires it for themselves. This is that moment even now that we see that a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency is doing to recognize and see if the energy in alignment with them is feeling that same energetic frequency. Because this is that moment that amplifies it too, and that counterpart energies could be moving through the same pathwork, but having very different energetic experiences. So what is the energy right now in the divine union frequency doing? They're having those energetic checkpoints with one another, assessing and determining whether that energy is one that feels like it is moving forward from a state of joy, or is it an energy that feels like they're just holding on for dear life? That is the difference right now. And so we see even now that a lot of that energy, again, that conversation between recognizing the difference between moving forward from a state of energetic excitement as opposed to energetic anxiety, that is almost like some more of that energetic fine-tuning that we're seeing that's happening right now in the heart of the divine union frequency. Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency right now. This is that moment or modality of having energetically felt like you found a counterpart that shares that frequency. Why is this happening right now for the energy at the heart of the divine union frequency? Because we observed that a lot of the work for the energy at the heart of the divine union frequency is observing how much you have energetically changed from the time that you've entered it, from the time where you are now, from the time that you energetically entered something. That is that moment that's requiring self-review. The energy coming into divine union, this is that breakthrough point of feeling like you've energetically found that alignment with someone, and that feeling of someone that is sharing that same energetic frequency in terms of how you tackle problems, in terms of that feeling of how you're energetically going forward. And that's not one we see that you're energetically avoiding or turning a blind eye to the past. But even now, it feels like that moment that you're both looking back towards the past with that sense of nostalgia. What does that sense of nostalgia look like? Does that mean you look back at the past with a point of understanding and desiring to go back there? No. This is a lot of energy that is talking heavily about the past right now, because they're utilizing it as an energetic point of reference to make sure that they proceed in the right direction going forward, taking accountability for past actions, to utilize it to be able to navigate a pathwork going forward. This is the energy that feels like you're both mutually doing that. The counterparts are feeling that same energetic commitment. And that's one that feels like, again, a fully faceted relationship, because it's not one that turns a blind eye to the past. It's one that's able to look backwards, but also utilize that to guide forwards. Masculine and feminine energy right now in separation. This is feeling a much more energetically difficult right now, because it's not creating potentially that moment of experiencing immediately the energetic breakthrough of finding someone in that modality. This is the energy testing the commitment level of the new energetic connections that we're seeing right now. And a lot of this energy, particularly the feminine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, is doing this much sooner rather than later. This could even be feminine energy right now that feels there's things coming up, but they're just almost putting them down just as quickly, because this is the energy of the feminine almost articulating and amplifying towards the new energetic connections that they're experiencing and building that need or that appetite, that sense of, again, having to have what that purpose is. A lot of the feminine energy in this modality right now, I need to stress, this isn't a moment that feels like someone needs to be lockstep in relationality to what your manifestation goals are. There's that observational point that everyone's manifestation goals are going to be a little bit energetically different. But this is the moment of the feminine energy almost looking towards a masculine saying, I need to know I need to see that they are there. You need to be able to articulate them. That is literally what a lot of the feminine energy is just manifesting right now or articulating towards masculine energy. It doesn't matter what they are. It doesn't matter what that path is. Your own ability to be able to express in that fashion is what the feminine energy is seeking, because that is the difference between working with an energetic connection that isn't having that same perspective, that doesn't have that same point of view. This is almost feminine energy saying, can you show me in some way, shape, or form that you also see things in this way, that you also address things in this way, that you move in the same way that I move. Doesn't matter which direction you move in, but this is almost the feminine energy saying, I want to see that you have that ability to put that planning and foresight in relationality to your purpose and your higher intentions. Masculine energy, you may be feeling kind of called to task to a certain extent right now, either internally or externally. So this is either masculine energy and separation that is going through this process within, doing this work for yourself, recognizing and identifying potentially that your own inability to bring forward that sense of intentionality and purpose may have been a lot of that heavy wisdom that's coming into play right now, potentially recognizing that that may have been a place or space where you may have previously been self-sabotaging and you hadn't seen it. But something that is seen is something that can be fixed going forward. So that's why we see that for a lot of the masculine energy in this modality right now, that point of personal understanding. And this is what's so important about this. This is not the type of work you do to be able to energetically please someone. This is something that you energetically do for the sake of your own self. And we see even now that for a lot of the masculine energy, this could be really feeling that sense of energetic excitement coming into play as you're really starting to build what that pathwork is for yourself going forward. Being able to come from a place of honesty is not enough. Taking that honesty, being able to turn it inwards, to ask one's own self, what do I truly aspire and desire? That's hard, heavy, energetic work, but it's incredibly valuable at this time. This could also be a lot of that masculine energy, bringing that forth towards the feminine right now, specifically around situations and circumstances where masculine, you may be recognizing and identifying that in order that not to do so, you may be starting to see a similar pattern emerging from the past, recognizing and identifying that, again, if you're trying to lead forward and build forward from an honest integrity connection to feminine, honesty is only half of that equation. There needs to be intentionality, because if not, you're just being honest to the feminine that you're very energetically confused. Fourth card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here, we love this. We've got our Queen of Cups here. Look at these counterparts right now. Even in separation, this is speaking very highly towards a lot of energetic breakthroughs right now. Very happy to see this. This is the coming back together, if you will. These energies are still in separation right now, but this is doing a lot of that work to start bringing these connections back into play in terms of being able to build forth together, because this is coming through that level or degree of energetic discernment. What's feminine doing right now? Feminine energy is observing their own emotionality. They're not necessarily offering it forward, but they're almost having that ability to be able to observe how they're energetically feeling and being able to express it towards the masculine. And that is the difference between energetically subjecting someone to how you are feeling versus being able to tell someone how you are energetically feeling. A lot of this energy of the feminine right now is utilizing a lot of that moment of observing their own emotionality to discuss towards the masculine how they are energetically feeling. And potentially even a lot of these energies in separation, this could be a lot of discussing about why the energy finds themselves in this modality. Why? Because we see that these energies right now, the feminine is utilizing that point of the past, being able to use points of the past, the energetic moments that did not work in their favor, that did not serve them, those heavy energetic karmic lessons, to be able to address a present imbalance that may be starting to form, or that they're starting to see, or that they're trying to avoid. And they're utilizing a lot of confidence in doing so. Masculine energy in separation. This is you building that sense of energetic confidence to be able to approach a feminine with that sense of intentionality, with that sense of energetic pathwork. It takes a lot of bravery. It takes a lot of bravery to lead forward because it almost feels like you're putting your heart on your sleeve when you tell someone what your aspirations and hopes are. But this is, again, the masculine energy in separation, recognizing that if they want that same vulnerability from feminine, if they want the feminine energy to be in that space of being emotionally receptive to them, the masculine needs to lead forth in this way to let the feminine know, I am someone energetically safe to do that with. I am someone that also thinks about the future. I am not just someone that's coming to you with a sense of uncertainty as to what I want and just doing what is energetically easy. I am moving towards you with energetic intensity. So that energetic conviction is now leading again to either the healing of karmic energy right now in separation or new energetic connections that are forming right now with energy that is mutually almost, again, affirming to each other in the act of talking about the past and then talking about the future, what they effectively have learned and where they energetically hope to go. Masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union, this is that breakthrough point. You found that energetic connection. We just said the reason a lot of this energy is feeling so much of this moment of just trying to make the tangible match the energetic connection that you're feeling with another energy is the feeling that you've energetically found someone. You found someone that matches that same level or degree of wanting to build forth with you in the same way, while also utilizing the past as that moment that feels like the weight and amplification of not wanting to run towards it, but utilizing a moment of observing it to be able to conduct yourself going forward in the best way. So for the energy right now, this could be, I'm telling you right now, a lot of energetic nostalgia that is coming into play, talking about what didn't serve you in the past, but that isn't a moment that someone is feeling the vulnerability of someone talking about a past that they desire to return to. This is that moment of recognizing that feeling of utilizing the past as a point of energetic reference, specifically to help fortify the path and make sure that you're not repeating those lessons of the past as you go forward. Look, it's putting it into practical application. Even in the moment that you're starting to see things that may hint to that might remind you of things that happened in the past. And this is why we see even now this could be energetically difficult. Because what happens in the moment that we have an energetic breakthrough with someone, where we see something that we're putting into play or practice that is working in a way, it can resonate. It can give us almost like an echo effect in reminding us of the space or place that was required in order for us to fundamentally learn that lesson. So this is even why now that feeling, that heaviness, if you will, that is that moment that feels like that energetic wisdom coming into play. And it's heavy energy. It's intense energy. These energies are really building a very strong connection here, but they're not doing it surface level. They're digging into the heart of their own experience and their own past, potentially even building even more connection points between one another by observing and utilizing that past experience to accommodate and adjust for any present difficulties. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency. This is why we see so many of these difficult energetic conversations may be happening right now. Why? Because we are recognizing and identifying, and even the energy at the heart of the divine union frequency, moving forward with a state of intensity and energetic compassion. The difference that can be amplified in the feeling of one person moving forward from a state or space with a sense of excitement versus another energy doing so from a state or space of anxiety. This is why we see that need to almost constantly check in with the other right now is so important, because this is that moment of, again, doing that difficult path work, trying to keep someone on their own energetic path, not for the sake of your own self, but for what you know they aspire or desire to be. And having those moments and saying, are you feeling that sense of energetic joy doing that? Is this a path that you feel joy going through at this time? Or is it one that you're experiencing frustration, anxiety, and fear? Because that is the energetic difference, if you will, between an energy moving forward from a state of robust joy, having the same experience of another, versus someone who's moving forward more, that's a state of energetic uncertainty and anxiety. So we see even now that need to almost put that energetic compassion towards the other is being amplified in trying to make sure that the energy is good. It's like that moment of someone saying, are you good? And someone being like, I'm good. And someone being like, no, like, are you good? Is this feeling that you're having right now in the present moment something that you want more of, or is it something that you're trying to energetically avoid? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Fifth card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here the Queen of Pentacles in its reversal. Now, this is having a little bit of a different impact depending on whether you align to masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Specifically, one of the things that we are seeing right now for feminine energy itself, this is that moment that feels it's a little bit more difficult right now for the feminine energy, because this has to do with creating and generating that sense of energetic stability within the self. What is the pathwork that we keep impressing upon right now? This is that moment that reminds you that if you're not feeling stable, no matter what you get, you're not going to be able to find that feeling of stability external outside of yourself. If you're feeling unstable, it doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter what kind of car you drive. It doesn't matter what is happening around you, right? That feeling of instability is something that you will carry with you anywhere you go, right? Anywhere you go, you will find it, because it's not something that can be energetically found outside of the self, right? So we see even now that a lot of the feminine energy is working through some of that energetic pathwork, utilizing that path, especially because what happens, this can be a little bit more difficult for the feminine energy, because the feminine energy, when you come into feeling your feels, when you come into experiencing how you're feeling, the energy of the feeling can sometimes create the energetic instability point. So we see even now that for a lot of the feminine energy going through this process, this is that moment of, again, integrating and even feeling and going deeper into where that sense of instability may exist, to be able to address it with a state of, again, energetic or emotional observation. So this is a lot of feminine energy doing some deep internal journeying right now to get to the bottom of where that instability exists. Where does it spring from? What is the energetic source? But what is the energetic source within the self, the feminine? Masculine energy, you may be working right now and helping a lot of the feminine energy through this to a certain extent. It's a little bit energetically easier right now for the masculine energy. Why? Because the masculine energy right now, we're just seeing masculine energy, your own ability to experience instability, and instead of letting it emotionally affect you, let that activate you. That comes a little bit more part and parcel with that energetic signature, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. It's that difference between feeling your feelings, having that moment, and utilizing that to empower you, utilizing that to take that energetic action. That's that moment of feeling something that is that feels uncomfortable and letting it like power that flame, if you will, versus that energy of feeling that and letting that create that sense of anxiety or uncertainty. We see even now for both masculine and feminine, helping to navigate through that is taking a little bit of a different energetic experience. This is why we see that a lot of this energy is going through this process of saying to one another, are you good? And don't say that from a place of putting up like a false sense of self. Tell me honestly, are you energetically good? Because that is that moment or modality of saying, wanting to identify that same level of energetic excitement on the part of the other to help empower and navigate how to energetically move forward best. It requires honesty. It requires that ability to really be able to articulate between what is different, between something that can be accommodated for, something that can be externally changed, which is easily navigated. An external change can happen. If someone needs the thermostat adjusted, you can adjust the thermostat, versus something that is internally creating that feeling of instability. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. This is that energetic feeling of finding that counterpart energy. And this could be a lot of that work right now in relationality too. circumstances and experiences from the past, looking towards them, not from a sense or space of wanting to go back to them, but almost utilizing them right now to be able to fortify the path that you're building forward with someone in a connection right now. And this could be a moment for feminine energy. This is that feeling of energetic relief right now, potentially, that is happening, and seeing and experiencing a masculine energy that has that same vibration, that has that same excitement, that has that same energetic counterpart energy. For the feminine energy, waiting for that. It's one that you can't generate it in someone. You have to find someone who already has it. So for the feminine energy that is going through that process of experiencing it, this is a deep internal lesson that's coming towards the feminine, because this is feminine looking potentially at all the experiences, even as they're having it, where they didn't choose energy that was moving at that frequency, that felt like they could accommodate or adjust or make a masculine energy come into that moment of feminine going, oh, I know that that's not where the energy is, but I can change that energy. The feminine being like, that was my first energetic lesson. That was the lesson of saying that, looking back at past experiences, the sense of saying, I don't see it in someone, but I'm going to make something that doesn't exist appear within someone. That is that feminine energy learning that beautiful lesson in terms of their own path work. Masculine energy, if this is a modality that you're coming towards and you're building with a feminine in this moment, this is that moment that you recognize that that wasn't something that was externally driven with outside of yourself. That was something that you generated within yourself. Your own ability to bring that forth in a feminine is potentially what is allowing you to have an incredibly open, deep, energetic connection with the feminine. And for a lot of the masculine energy, at this time, it does feel like an energetically heavy lesson, because you're recognizing and identifying how much confidence, how much bravery it takes to be able to build as authentically and openly with the feminine in that way. This could be a moment for the masculine that a lot of that nostalgia also comes into play, because you're recognizing and remembering the places or spaces that were required to be able to learn that energetic lesson. This could even be looking back at past experiences and recognizing and identifying and understanding now that if a feminine energy was in a moment of instability, that instability may have been a reflection of them reflecting your own instability towards them. Right? Because the feminine energy often acts as that clear mirror. So that's that masculine energy that's building forth with a feminine right now and feeling that energetic openness, feeling that energetic connection. But at the same time, that point of identifying and recognizing, learning and facilitating from those experiences from the past is either creating a counterpoint to what you're building with someone at this time, or it's that memory of, again, recognizing what it energetically took, what you may have felt like you energetically lost in order to learn this internal path work and this internal lesson. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is why we see so much of the feminine energy right now is doing some hard energetic work. Effectively, like I'm even seeing here, pushing some energy right now of feminine is potentially closing something up before it even starts right now. Potentially, again, utilizing that really heightened point of discernment right now, specifically because this is a feminine energy. I told you, they're still in a moment of some sort of energetic recovery here. This is feminine energy that doesn't want to walk back into a lesson that they just learned, potentially around some other energetic connection. So for a lot of the feminine energy right now, this could be even articulating to new energetic connections that are approaching them why the feminine energy is potentially feeling something akin to uncertainty in relationality to building forth with someone. Because this is the feminine energy says, I need to see that you have this within you. I need to see that you match me in terms of what you're looking to create. It doesn't mean we have to have the same thing, but your own sense of integrity here, your own sense. Honesty isn't enough. Being able to be honest, but also take that honesty and apply it to intentions. That's where the rubber meets the energetic road. So for a lot of the feminine energy right now, this is the feminine energy potentially even like, again, articulating and saying to new masculine connections, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. It's not that I don't have these, I'm just not willing to share them or go into detail with them until I recognize and identify that you have the same as well. Because what did I tell you? A lot of the feminine energy and separation is navigating, not wanting to be in a space or place where they tell the masculine their own energetic goals. And the masculine just says yes, but feminine energy learning that that's not necessarily a masculine that's not a masculine affirming masculine energy affirming a feminine's manifestation goals is different than a masculine energy that has their own goals. And so even now we see a lot of the feminine energy is almost like, I want to be able to see that. I want to be able to hear that. I want to be able to see. And this is, again, the feminine energy saying, it doesn't even matter what they are. I want to see that you have the ability to articulate upon them in that fashion. Masculine energy in this modality, this could be a lot of that self-work that's potentially happening right now. Because again, a lot of that energetic unpacking that's potentially happening right now in separation is that feeling of having a moment that feels very profound. If you're having a lot of these breakthrough points, if you're building more authentically with feminine, and you're already seeing a tremendous shift, this is that moment that, again, having that point of understanding, it opens a lot of doors. It opens a lot of energetic doors, past, present, future. Like the minute you have an understanding point, the minute you have a breakthrough, it's like everything gets opened again. So what is a lot of the masculine energy in separation doing right now? They're doing a lot of that internal emotional unpacking to determine and to feel that energetic commitment in terms of the directionality that they're going towards. A lot of masculine energy right now, specifically even now, maybe even looking back at some past path work where they recognize and identify that coming from a place of lacking that openness, lacking that intentionality, may have led to circumstances and situations that resulted in them being in separation in the first place. Because that's that moment of, again, the masculine recognizing and identifying. If you come towards the feminine from a state of confusion, the feminine starts to reflect that same confusion. Right? That's that moment of the masculine doing a lot of that internal process and unpacking. And for a lot of the masculine energy right now, what's really beautiful about this is this could be taking a lot of accountability, if you will. If there were energies of feminine that pushed you away, potentially understanding why now, because it's almost like if the feminine energy didn't see that intentionality, that's almost the feminine energy feeling like someone's energetically playing with them instead of really wanting to build with them. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Justice card in its reversal in combination with our Six of Swords. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Two of Pentacles. You can see why this could be a moment that could feel like an amplification of a choice that masculine needs to make right now in separation. Because that observational point that when you don't make a choice, when you leave all options open, that in itself is the effective energetic choice, and it doesn't allow for the deepening of an energetic connection. The masculine potentially recognizing and identifying, potentially even feeling like you've energetically lost partnerships or possible union with feminine at points because you weren't ready to energetically commit to a certain path point. This is that moment of masculine that feels like that amplification. And again, what is the masculine trying to do right now? This could be, again, this keeps coming through. Some of the masculine recognizing and realizing a moment of observing one's own path and seeing and understanding if there are spaces and places that you give your honesty to. And then there are spaces and places that you give your intentionality to. And those two places aren't merged. This could be the fragmentation of the self where you're compartmentalizing and you're giving people things because that way they don't have any effect on you. Right? What happens when we only give people a part of ourselves? That's that moment that we never build a true, honest, authentic connection because we feel like we're doing so from a state or space of energetic safety. But it also means that we only maintain shallow energetic connections with those around us due to the fact that we're keeping those two places apart. So what we see even now, a lot of the masculine energy is weighing that to a certain degree. Potentially recognizing and understanding your own ability of doing so is almost allowing you now that point of energetic confidence in terms of understanding the past with a better sense of clarity, while also wanting to do so to be able to affect a better point of change in the present. Feminine energy in separation right now. This is that moment that again feels so energetically difficult because we see even now there could be some feminine energy in separation that is seeing some energy coming towards them that feels like a viable potential partnership. But if the feminine is seeing a masculine that hasn't learned how to merge both of these things, that is either coming, I have to stress this, what happens when feminine only experiences masculine from a place of openness, of clarity. That builds a friendship connection. That builds a connection of a feminine feeling like there's a masculine that's very authentic with them, but doesn't seem like they have any desire or energetic direction to build with the feminine. What happens when the feminine energy encounters masculine with all intentionality but no honesty? That is manipulation. The feminine energy is utilizing the power of discernment to say it's okay that you can't just have one, you can't have the other. You have to have them both together. You have to put them together. They have to kiss. They have to be meeting that point of, again, honesty and intentionality that allows for the ability of progress forward. Because either one, if they're not experiencing it, just creates a state or space where the feminine feels the unfairness or the imbalance of not being able to move forward because you're only receiving one half of what you energetically need to be able to build with someone. Masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union right now, you're experiencing that. You found that to a certain point. You've recognized that is occurring. You're feeling that ability to have that. You're seeing that right now. The problem or the hurdle is even at this time, feeling that balance reminds you of spaces and places wherein you might not have energetically seen that in the past. It's difficult when you have those moments because those are those opportunities where you're being able to look back on your past experience with a new set of optics, given what you are energetically receiving in the present. So even now, this could be feeling like there's still a lot of energetic breakthroughs that are happening for a lot of energy right now coming into divine union. But it is that act of being able to compare the past to the present, seeing the difference right now that is almost, again, potentially amplifying anything that felt like it was off in the past might feel like it was really off now, because this is that moment that you've got some method by which to compare it by. And finding a way to balance through those points, experiencing the full weight and degree of the imbalance that you may have had experienced in the past, that in itself just requires a little bit of grounding. That's some of that eclipse energy coming to the fold right now, because that's that moment of being like, I have to carry both going forward. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union right now. This is the reason that we see that there's so much fastidiousness that is happening and occurring right now for the energy in the divine union frequency, because this is that reminding moment that remembers that you can be on the same path with someone and have a very, very different experience. Just because you're moving in the same direction with someone doesn't mean that you're experiencing the same thing. And even now, this is that moment that we see a lot of the energy in the heart of the divine union is looking towards a counterpart and saying, we don't have to feel the exact same thing, but are we feeling the same? Like, where are your thoughts on this? Where are you energetically? Is this a place that we're both occupying? Like, is there a Venn diagram here where we're both occupying the same feeling? Or are we having very different energetic experiences? Because that's the difference of, again, feeling that sense of joy, feeling that sense of the magnification point of happiness as you proceed forward from a point, versus that feeling of energetic anxiety, right? The excitement versus the anxiety. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Justice card in its reversal in combination with our Page of Swords, right? May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Two of Swords, because that makes all the difference. That makes all the energetic difference. Why? Because the counterpart energy is compassionate enough that it doesn't want to feel like they're energetically bringing someone with them that isn't sharing the same energetic vibration. So we see even now that for the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency, that level or degree of fastidiousness, wanting to recognize and make sure that you're on the same energetic page with someone. And that's the difference between, again, saying that you want something versus saying that you're energetically happy. Right? That's that difference of pulling into that need-based framework that says that you're feeling like something is energetically missing, versus moving with a sense of joy and contentment towards where you are going while feeling the amplification of the joy that you have in the present context in terms of moving in the direction of it. Do you see how different those experiences are? One feels like you're kind of like trying to reach for something that's always out of grasp, and then never content when you're going in that direction, versus building that sense of contentment in the present, and everything else just feels like it is energetic gravy, right? So we see even now that moment of identifying and saying to someone, how are you feeling? Are you energetically happy? That's trying to recognize and identify the moment of saying, like, no, I'm energetically dissatisfied in the present, but I feel like that point of going into the future is going to fix that, because it won't. Versus the energy saying, no, of course, I'm very happy right now. I'm experiencing all of this with a level or degree of energetic joy, because this is the amplification of what I presently want, bringing the manifestation goal into the present. The rest is just making the tangible come into the sense of matching the energetic frequency of feeling that in the moment. Masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union right now, you're potentially energetically feeling and experiencing this right now. This is the moment of potentially recognizing and identifying what a big difference that counterpart energy makes to a certain extent when we are moving in that vibration. For a lot of the energy right now, feeling that energy, feeling someone that has that same level or degree of excitement in terms of where you're going and what you're building with them, that is building a point of clarity and potentially what wasn't working best in the past, because that's the difference between energy that feels like they're moving energetically in the same direction versus energy that feels that level or a degree of discontentment because it's really like you want something different than someone else wants. That's the difference of, again, building with someone versus feeling like you're energetically coming along for the ride. For a lot of the energy right now, being in the heart of something of that nature, finding counterpart energy that shares your same interest, shares your same tenacity, shares your same motivation. That's that moment that builds that point of clarity, because that's the affirmation of moving forward in that way, while also recognizing what felt like it wasn't in alignment. It like shines like an even starker contrast on what wasn't in alignment at a time that you're energetically receiving what is. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is why we see so much of this feminine energy utilizing this pathwork of high energetic discernment right now, even in relationality to what may feel like it is energetically new. This is a lot of feminine energy that's doing a lot of resilient pathwork in ripping the energetic band-aid off of something, not waiting to have that difficult discussion of saying, like, what is it that you want? What is it that you're looking for? This is almost the feminine energy coming into realization and saying, why wouldn't I lead with that? That should be the first question out of the gate, because that is the difference between having someone and wanting someone to like you, to approve of you, to be able to facilitate partnership, versus saying, I want to make sure that we're moving in the same direction. Why? That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you like me. That could make it energetically harder if we like each other and we're moving in different directions. That's where all the trouble begins. That's the moment that creates a friction point. Better to identify and ascertain whether you're moving in the same direction with someone before you energetically decide if you energetically like someone, because that's going to be the moment that you're starting to feel like that path works, pulling you off. So we see even now that a lot of this energy, this is a lot of the feminine energy saying, if that's happening right now, this is almost the feminine energy saying, better now than later. Better sooner than later. Better doing that work, making sure we're on the first page. The first thing we should do, the first assignment energetically should be making sure that we are on the same page prior to determining whether we energetically like each other. So we see even now a lot of the feminine energy is almost like utilizing that as the starting point. That is the affirmation of how the feminine energy is effectively implementing a lot of that energetic lesson. And even now, we see that that's a moment, and that's a feminine energy almost saying, if that makes them energetically less likable, that's a feminine energy saying, good. That's the boundaries. That's the boundaries protecting the feminine energy. Masculine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. If this is a modality wherein you recognize potentially that your own ability to not choose that determinative path in the past is what potentially led to you energetically losing some energetic connections, that weight, if you will. This is that moment that is creating that sense of masculine building that pathwork of energetic intentionality if on this healing journey. A lot of the masculine energy in this modality right now, your desire to build forth with feminine from a state of honesty and clarity, recognizing that if you want to move towards a manifestation goal, you have to be moving with an energy that wants the same things you want. That when you build in pathwork of illusion, all you guarantee is that you're going to be kind of forced to inhabit that same space or realm of illusion that you put around another. This is leading to a lot of the masculine energy having the energetic breakthrough, but this is also a moment for a lot of the masculine energy in this modality, recognizing and identifying that you need to be able to articulate on what that honesty is for. That for the masculine energy, looking into the heart space, asking oneself what it is that you truly aspire and desire. It's hard. It's challenging. You're feeling potentially the weight of the rejection that potentially occurs when you say to someone what you want, and they might say, I don't want that. But what is the masculine, much like the feminine, doing right now? This is how this pathwork is in alignment. It might not make you likable, but again, it's going to also be a boundary to make sure that you're building forth with someone that is in alignment with you. It's not an act of energetic rejection. It is a moment of getting clarity in relationality to whether you'll be moving together in a way or a space that feels like it's in alignment versus building with someone that doesn't truly know what it is that you want, and therefore, how can they ever energetically give it to you? Both of these energies right now are effectively on the same path. It's just one is requiring a lot of discernment and a lot of resilience. The other one, the masculine, is requiring a lot of energetic vulnerability. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Page of Swords in combination with our Queen of Cups. We love to see these two cards together. Beautiful cards together. May I please have one card to clarify? Star in its reversal. Star in its reversal. So for a lot of the feminine energy right now, this is healing a lot of past trauma. What is happening right now for a feminine energy that's learning to be emotionally or energetically authentic? This is potentially feminine energy healing from spaces and places in the past where they were taught the opposite. That they were taught to kind of fabricate or come into a space or place of not being energetically open. This is that moment of the feminine, almost again, even in separation, finding their own energetic voice and going through a lot of that energetic process, if you will, in recognizing that when you're speaking from a place of authenticity, it might not necessarily make you easily approachable. It might not make you easily accessible. It might not necessarily make you easily likable. But that's the feminine energy that's almost saying, that's fine. Like, that's not energetically fine. Because that's the feminine energy almost looking towards situations and circumstances saying, why would I want to show someone that I'm completely energetically open from the start? Why would I want to show someone? Why am I having to go through this process? Where am I learning this? Like, why was I taught that there was something here that I had to work on being open and likable as opposed to energetically honest? So we see even now, for a lot of the energy of the feminine, this is the internal pathwork. This is pushing against what you may feel was like either given to you or told or something that you were told that you were supposed to do, but almost recognizing and identifying right now, feeling that sense of energetic observation on it. Because what's happening now is that level or degree, there's something really important that's happening for the feminine energy right now. The difference between being emotionally adaptable to whatever is around you versus emotionally honest. And this is what's interesting about it. This is feminine energy saying, if I'm not being emotionally honest, I'm not being emotionally vulnerable, I'm putting up a false emotional front. That's the feminine energy saying, that's not vulnerability. That is like a mask. That's like an energetic mask of vulnerability that I'm effectively or energetically wearing. It's not the true version. It's not true vulnerability. That's the feminine building that sense of energetic resilience at a point of separation. Masculine energy. This is that modality that you're potentially recognizing and experiencing, particularly around feminine energy. And this is either something that you're having on an internal level right now, or it's something that you're having a conversation with the feminine on, which is, again, a moment of having that point of observation of, again, when you don't build forth, if there's feminine, I need to stress this. Look at this masculine energy. Pay attention to what I just said. Feminine energy is recognizing that they often put a false front on pretending they want to move in a direction because they feel like it'll make them more likable. That's a lot of the path work that the feminine energy is healing from. Masculine energy, what happens when you give feminine a false illusion of what you want and the feminine hasn't learned that path work? Feminine will say yes, or feel that energetic feeling of trying to say yes to whatever you say to them, not because they energetically desire it, but because they feel like you're being authentic. Do you see what happens when these energies do not work in an authentic space with each other? It's like you're building something that neither one of you want. You just think that the other energetically wants. You create that space of doing that, and it's absurd because it creates something that nobody wants, because someone needs to lead forward with the energetic openness. So for masculine energy, recognizing and identifying this is also the masculine saying, if I want the feminine to be authentic and open with me, I need to do the same as well. Somebody needs to break the ice on it. Someone needs to be that first person. So we see even now that both of these energies are almost gearing up to do that hard work. Feminine doing it from that place of emotional, energetic resilience, saying, I'm going to be strong enough to be my most authentic version of self, regardless of how that makes others portray me or perceive me. Masculine, doing that heavy energetic work, saying, I am going to be my authentic version of self, even if that pushes the feminine away, because it won't push the right feminine away. It will bring the right feminine towards me through articulating and telling someone what I want. Both of these energies, that is how they come into energetic healing. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, you've had that energetic breakthrough point. And what's lovely about this is one of those moments that, again, if you're building forward in that way, the more you know, the more it feels like the more is revealed. The more you open up, the more is revealed, because that's that moment of, again, I'll show you yours if you show me mine. I'll show you yours if you show me mine. And that is that moment that feels like that amplification point. And again, what is masculine now doing right now if building forth with a feminine in that way? Helping the feminine energy feel comfortable and confident in being their most authentic expression of self. Potentially even learning about past situations and circumstances where feminine felt like they couldn't. Why would a masculine that wants to build forth honestly and openly with a feminine ever want the feminine not to be their most honest expression of self? Because that's a moment that doesn't allow for that ability to really seize upon the pathwork that you're creating together. Feminine, feeling that sense of a masculine that prioritizes your own safety, prioritizes your own energetic safety, wants to create an environment where you feel your ability to be your most authentic expression of self, even through working on their own imbalances. That is the feminine energy. Again, feeling that pathwork of discernment and recognizing the difference between what you can build with a masculine versus what a masculine must find within themselves. So both of these energies feeling like they found ideal counterpart. Masculine, feeling a feminine energy who's in that point of emotional balance, even when they're feeling insecure. This isn't a feminine energy that feels insecure and allows that emotionality to disrupt or allows it to be a moment of like acting as like subjecting another to that. That's a moment of a feminine, even when they're feeling imbalanced, is able to articulate on it, because that's almost the feminine energy articulating a need to the masculine. And the masculine is always showing that moment of energetic resilience, always ready to show up, always ready to be there, almost showing the feminine, I am here to be able to communicate with. I am here to address what that is, because that is that moment of saying, if you have an energetic need, I am here to fulfill it, because that is the commitment that the masculine and the feminine are giving one another that allows for that ability to build forth in that way. Right now, for both of those energies, having that moment, experiencing that, it feels like a heart opening. Feminine, having that reminds you all the places and spaces where you didn't receive that willingly from a masculine, and it felt more like you were like pulling them on your own pathwork. Masculine, this could be a reminder of having had to learn this lesson, potentially from spaces and places wherein this was not something that you were able to provide past feminine energy. Right? That's that moment of masculine, taking that energetic accountability point and utilizing it, not blaming the energy of the past and saying, well, that was their fault. This is the masculine saying, I wasn't energetically ready to show up to someone, for someone to this level or degree in the past. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency. This is why this energy right now is going through such a high level, a degree of energetic discernment. Because this is the energetic difference. And even now we see that this is almost feeling like an energetic check-in. This is the energy so keyed into one another in such heightened alignment that it's almost hard to build that point of it's almost impossible for these energies to come into that space of falsehood, because they can almost energetically sense it with one another. That's the beauty of coming into divine union. You can kind of just pick up on something before it's even there, right? That moment of discernment. And what we effectively see, as it were, is this moment that we see even now, that sense of looking towards counterpart and saying, are you energetically happy? And no, that doesn't mean are you energetically happy with where you think something will be in 5 years from now or 10 years from now. Are you energetically happy in the moment? Because if you're not energetically happy in the moment, nothing that you bring forth in a manifestation is going to energetically change that. That feeling must be something that you cultivate in the present. Nothing that you achieve forward is going to bring that feeling of joy to you. You must embody that joy even in the process of working towards a manifestation goal. So we see even now that a lot of this energy is saying, are you feeling okay? Are you okay? Are you happy? What can we do to navigate that? Because this is energy that's putting that point of compassion towards circumstances or situations, saying there's no point in moving towards a manifestation goal if you're going to be miserable in the process, because life is just moving towards a series of manifestation goals. You're not going to arrive at a destination and be like, I'm happy now, right? If you're miserable before you go on vacation, and you get to the vacation, you're still going to be miserable, right? It's that building of energetic joy and understanding that that isn't something that you chase after, that's something that you find within. And even now it's requiring that point of looking towards counterpart energy and saying, are we having the same energetic experience? Are we both experiencing the same sense of joy right now? And if so, if not, what can we do to accommodate, to make that better, to make that easier? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Queen of Cups in combination with our Queen of Pentacles. This is a little bit of hairy energy here. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Ace of Pentacles in its reversal. So again, for a lot of the feminine energy, this is going to be a lot of the feminine energy doing this work right now. A lot of the feminine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. This is that feeling. That's the difference. A lot of the feminine energy, if they're being a little more tight-lipped on this, because this is the feminine energy experiencing a lot of emotional intensity right now. And so what we appreciate about this right now, I need to stress, this isn't necessarily a negative right now for the feminine energy, because this is the feminine energy that's doing this heightened path work, even in the divine union frequency. And basically saying to themselves, is this feeling I'm having, is this like an inside me thing? Or is this an environmental thing? Like, this is a feminine going, like, what is this I'm feeling? What is that disruption point? What is that uncoziness, if you will? Is this something that I can change in my immediate environment? Something that's easily changed? Or is this just something I got to deal with? Is that feeling of instability something that I need to continue to cultivate within my own self that has to do with a little bit of energetic unpacking? Or is this something that I can actually change? Is there something here that I can say to myself, well, things would be easier fundamentally if I had that thing, right? So we see even now for a lot of the feminine energy doing that work, doing that energetic discernment work starts from within. Because that's not feminine energy that's like, I feel like a child, like I feel this sweater is scratchy, just giving it to everyone else. This is the feminine energy going like, oh, this sweater's scratchy. Oh, I need to, it's doing those little, it feels like a lot like discerning between what is a creature comfort versus what is an existential crisis. And masculine energy, if you're dealing with the feminine in this modality right now, you could be saying to feminine energy, is this like a creature comfort thing or is this an existential crisis? Because those are different things. One is easily adapted or can have a little bit of energetic patience with, right? If there's something uncomfortable in the present, that's something that you can put tangible effort in addressing. But if the feminine energy is having like an existential crisis and they're trying to externalize the existential crisis in feeling like changing something is going to change that, that's that moment that needs to be energetically addressed, which is again why we see so much of this energy right now is going through that process of saying to one another, the counterpart saying, are you energetically happy? Like, are you feeling contentment in terms of what you're experiencing? Or is this that moment of just looking towards you and saying, it's not that I'm trying to seek happiness and getting something, because I know happiness does not come from external factors, but this would make things a little bit easier. That's the difference that we're seeing here. It's a very subtle shift, but we see that the energy right now is so in alignment. They're so keyed into one another that they can recognize the nuanced difference. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, you're experiencing this with another counterpart energy. It's creating a lot of internal breakthroughs at the time that you're receiving it, because some lessons we only understand fully at the time that we get what we were trying to achieve. We don't understand what wasn't in alignment until the moment we have something in alignment. We don't recognize what was off until we finally figure out what is on. So for a lot of the energy right now coming into divine union, that breakthrough moment that you're having energetically with someone is that point of recognizing and identifying, if you will. And what's difficult about this, I know you're feeling it. If you're saying to me, why am I coming into divine union and I feel more conflicted than ever? Well, you should. If you're just coming into divine union, you suddenly have a point of comparison of everything that wasn't in alignment up until this point. That is that point that feels like the magnification of what wasn't in alignment. And I'm going to say again, make sure if you're experiencing that right now, you put a little bit of grace towards the fact that those past cycles, whatever you experienced, that was the lesson. It wasn't that it was wrong. It was all that was energetically necessary. And you have to hold a little degree of energetic compassion, both in how you may have reacted or responded to what wasn't in alignment, or to how you look back on those experiences and circumstances. Because that is the difference of effectively saying, when we come through that process, not looking back and saying everything prior to this point was wrong. That's that moment of saying, having that energetic compassion and saying, whatever that was carried me forward to become the person or be in the space that I find myself in now. So if you're in that space of appreciating it, you have to hold a little bit of gratitude for a lot of the journey that took you forth on that. Even if it wasn't energetically easy, and even if there's some moments that you wish that something had arrived to you a little bit energetically sooner. It arrived to you when it needed to arrive to you because you energetically were ready for it at that time. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now, the energy and separation. This is why we see that a lot of the energy and separation. The energy is having the same exact breakthrough, but it's leading to a little bit of energetic distance right now. Specifically, due to the fact that we are recognizing that for feminine energy, this is requiring the feminine energy to almost pull back more than they would aspire and desire from masculine energy. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. What's hard about this is for some of the feminine energy, this almost feels like you're feeling the conflict of withholding, right? Feminine energy, if you're feeling withholding, this is almost the feminine energy going, why am I feeling withholding in the fact that I'm just not eagerly giving something? And that's the feminine energy going, oh wait, I've got this habit of overly giving things. If I have a habit of overly giving to situations and circumstances, it's always going to feel uncomfortable as I teach myself not to energetically do that. So even now, this is the feminine energy catching themselves, their own desire to do something, but also feeling validated in saying, I'm not going to give forth in this way unless I see someone. And this is why the feminine energy in this modality right now isn't saying that they're looking for what is perfect. They're just looking for that proof, that energetic proof of something, saying, I need to see that someone shares my same desire. I need to see that someone shares my own desire, the intentionality. And this is the feminine energy saying, I'm totally willing to open up that conversation of energetically giving, offering something. But I need to first see that someone else possesses it. And that's the feminine energy saying, I can't give someone something because when I give someone something, there's no way for me to ever be able to identify if they ever possessed it prior to me giving it to them. You see that? So that's why we see a lot of this feminine energy saying, like, it's not the fact that don't want to share with you, but I know and I identify that I need to see that you also have that same ability, and you're not just going to take that and utilize what I give you to give it back to me. Right? Some of the feminine energy is recognizing that this happens sometimes, potentially from experiences with masculine in the past. Masculine energy, if you are in separation right now, this is that moment that we are seeing that if there are circumstances and situations where you may have experienced points of instability with feminine, you may be having that moment in separation and starting to understand and recognize and say, oh my gosh, I was a bit of a part of that. If I was giving feminine falsehood and confusion and the feminine energy became stable, that's because I was putting something in and getting it back. The feminine was amplifying what I was giving them, right? This is the masculine energy being like, if I know feminine energy wants to validate whatever I aspire and desire, and then I feel like I need to try to create a false truth to feminine because I don't want to be rejected, then I'm basically bringing forth to feminine something that is completely untrue that I want. And then feminine's affirming it because they want to give me what I'm telling them I want that I don't want. And then we continue forward in this absurd cycle where we're both doing something that we don't want to do because we feel the other one wants it. And that is the price of entry to be in partnership with one another. So this is masculine energy going, oh my goodness. Like that's, you see? See how silly that is? It's absurd. It's energetically absurd. So we see even now, this is why that's hard, because this is that moment that when we recognize this, it creates that sense of energetic clarity, if you will. But it also doesn't solve the question, which we keep seeing is returning to the masculine, which is what is it that you energetically want? So for a lot of the masculine energy, having a lot of these intelligent, intellectual breakthroughs right now, even around the, like your own path work, even taking accountability for if something got confusing in the past, especially with the feminine, you have to immediately lead by saying to yourself, well, was I confusing? Did I bring the confusion in that amplified the confusion? So having that moment and being able to discern doesn't solve the problem in terms of saying, what is it that you want now? And even now we see that one of the reasons a lot of the masculine energy are recognizing and identifying that desire not to be open to the feminine is actually energetic protection. That just as the feminine energy needs to learn that act of resilience and not offering something too quickly, masculine needs to learn how to energetically let go. Masculine needs to know how to loosen that energetic grip, to put your heart on your sleeve. Because how else can you get a heart back in kind? You need to be able to offer what it is that you aspire and desire so someone can show you that they share that same dream. The only way we can know that someone shares a dream with us is if we energetically reveal that dream. And energetically revealing dreams, it's very fragile stuff. It's very vulnerable work. We feel like dreams are very fragile things, and that's why we see that a lot of the masculine energy, navigating forth and how to do that, that could feel like the task at hand right now. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, between our Two of Pentacles in combination with double twos. Yesterday was all threes. Now we're doing the double twos. We had 3 threes coming up yesterday. Now we've got 2 twos. We've got the Two of Pentacles with our Two of Swords. Assessing options, course of action. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with, and to add to all of this, we've got the Temperance card in its reversal, because again, energy is high right now. That desire, that amplification point, everything is feeling like it's getting really big. But one of the things that we see, and this is what's happening right now. Yeah, and yesterday I told you not to be too hasty. I'm going to say this again today. There is a difference between coming into a reactive state, feeling what you're feeling, acting upon it, then going, oh no, I was just feeling that in the moment, versus experiencing something, observing something, making a decision, and then acting upon that decision. That ability to do so here is really valuable and very energetic important, because that is the difference, okay? And we see that a lot, even now, a lot of the energy is learning this work. The difference between moving with intention quickly after coming to a decision, right? Letting that be that sense versus just reacting without that sense of intentionality. So what is the energy right now doing? They're taking this moment. The intensity of the eclipse is helping you navigate and look at the pathwork ahead of you. Potentially even making that determinative decision, making that choice, and then moving on it very quickly. We see now that ability to do so, and even now I have to express this. This is why we see that a lot of the energy right now in the divine union is working in this space or place right now that feels like you're seeing that intensity, right? Remember I said you're seeing that energetic intensity? And this is that moment of looking towards one another and saying, are you good with this level of intensity? Are you good with this level of intensity? Or is this the articulation point of you feeling a point of anxiety as opposed to excitement? This is why this conversation keeps coming up, because that level or degree of intensity is again showing whether you feel like you're in that sense of doing something or moving in such a way that feels like it's in energetic alignment. That sense of excitement amplifying that movement together in a direction that you're both very eager and excited for, versus that sense of anxiety, which is that degree of fear, of resistance, of feeling like something is too much energetically, which would articulate the ability of only being able to do something for a short period of time. This is why we even see here that if a lot of this energy in the divine union frequency has been feeling like things have been like intensifying, there's a moment of observation and looking towards one another and saying, are you good with this? Are you good with this like level of intensity? Or is this feeling like too much of an energetic disruption for you? Because that's the amplification of someone saying like, no, I'm moving into something joyfully. I'm feeling that full, like I'm feeling this from a point of excitement, versus someone saying, I'm moving in this direction and it feels like it's too energetically much. It feels like it's too hard. It feels like it's too energetically difficult. So we see even now that there's that moment that's requiring a lot of that energetic checking in, if you will, to help recognize the difference, because those two things can look very similar. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. This is the energy of feeling that, finding that, experiencing that energetic breakthrough. The energy in the divine union needs to check in on each other because they've been in there for quite some time. That's that change, like that's that movement into that frequency. The energy that is just coming into it, you're feeling that energetic breakthrough. You're feeling the difference it feels when you're moving in alignment with someone and being able to navigate the same energetic intensity and being comfortable in that space is giving you clarity on anything that you felt wasn't necessarily matching in a frequency mentality, because that's that moment that potentially you may have experienced that one person was enjoying that intensity, the other person wasn't, or was too afraid to move forward in that degree, either or again felt like you were pulling them into that direction. That's that moment that, again, some energy may be looking back on circumstances and situations and being like, oh, that didn't work because I was moving towards something with excitement. They were pulling away from it from anxiety. Oh, that person was moving towards something with excitement. I was pulling away from something from anxiety. This is that moment that we're energetically seeing has that point of observing and getting that sense of clarity on what didn't work in the past in the moment of energetically receiving it in the present. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is the energy utilizing that discernment before there's even partnership at play. This is the energy in separation, utilizing that discernment before the partnership is even at play, which is beautiful. Because this is the energy that is articulating the desire more than anything and not wanting to waste energetic time. For feminine energy, this is why we see even now there could be a moment if there's masculine energy that's coming towards you with authenticity but not intentionality. I'm afraid they're probably going to end up being friends. And again, if masculine energy, I know you get all stressed out that feminine energy moves you into the friend zone. If you lead towards feminine with authenticity but without intentionality, what else is feminine supposed to do with that? So we see even now that a lot of the feminine energy, feeling that authenticity but not seeing the intentionality, or feeling like that intentionality or path is either not visible, or you don't have the same path work that you want. That could be a lot of energy right now, making a lot of friends. Masculine energy right now, because this is the feminine energy saying, I need to see, I need those two pieces to combine. I need the intentionality and the clarity. Masculine, if you're recognizing and identifying at a time that you feel called for to bring intentionality and honesty to the feminine, and there's a moment that you're seeing that potentially even in your own life that this is something that you never give two people, one person, two things, this is a moment that immediately feels like some energetic path work that you can work on within your own self, because that's that energetic unpacking of being like, oh, when I put intentionality in some places and I put honesty in another, that's me avoiding intimacy. That's the energy of the masculine, finding a way to avoid intimacy by getting what they need from different places, but also will act as a blocker from having a true divine connection with someone. Because in order to have a true divine connection with someone, you have to integrate the honesty with the intentionality. And that feeling of, again, wanting to take this lesson if it's coming and bring it to past experiences, it's creating that moment of recognizing and identifying and feeling that sense of energetically choosing what direction you want to put forth that lesson towards. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Two of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Star energy in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Two of Cups. A lot of the energy in separation right now, having some deep, profound breakthroughs on what may have led to the energy being in separation. For feminine energy, this is feminine energy basically saying, I'm going to lead forth. I'm not going to just leave myself energetically open and allow myself to be energetically adaptable. Because this is the feminine energy saying, I've done that before. And this is the feminine energy looking back and experiences and saying, it didn't serve me. Being open and vulnerable and accommodating to anything created a point of feeling that imbalance. That's where the imbalance potentially started, was the moment the feminine felt like, again, I couldn't be my most authentic version of self because I was so busy trying to become likable. I didn't pay attention to whether someone was energetically concerned about protecting me. So even now we see that that's the feminine energy, almost learning a different vitality point in terms of being vulnerable to masculine. This is feminine energy that's learning to be vulnerable by being energetically honest, as opposed to just being adaptable. And that's difficult because even now that's feminine energy potentially, stopping energetic connections before they start if they're not seeing that same level or degree of intentionality on the path of a masculine saying, I know what I want. Because when the feminine energy sees a masculine says, I know what I want, and then the masculine says, I'm moving towards you because I want you, that's a feminine energy feeling the safety and security of a masculine that's able to be open and saying, my priority is you. Intentionality. Masculine energy, if in separation, this modality of, again, you having this breakthrough point, potentially suddenly realizing and recognizing why you weren't able to build an open connection with feminine in the past, especially if you were building that space of illusion and only getting illusion back from feminine, now experiencing that breakthrough point and building authentic connections with feminine. Having that breakthrough doesn't tell you what direction to go in. In fact, it leads you to have a lot of different directions it can go in, because this is now a question of masculine asking themselves, is this a moment of trying to come into modification? Trying to heal a connection wherein you didn't recognize or understand this lesson soon enough? Or is this something that you're looking right now to build on and build a new energetic connection with? So even now, this is why we see that there's a moment that feels like the amplification of some kind of energetic confusion from the part of masculine and separation. Because this is that moment that you're effectively energetically considering your own options to try to identify where your heart is guiding you. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. And you can see why these energies are in separation. If there's a masculine energy in separation saying, I am confused about my direction, and feminine saying, I am confused. The only thing I know for certain is I will not be with an energy that is confused. Then these energies, they're both healing. Do you see how they're both healing? But the time might not be perfect yet. Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, you energetically have found that counterpart energy. You're in that modality. You found that connection point. And what happens when you energetically have that connection point? It sheds a lot of light on what didn't. It builds that sense of understanding. It's like you're now starting to write a book on, you could write a book on what doesn't work now because you're now in the moment of experiencing what does. You have that point of comparison. And that's that moment that potentially feels a little frustrating, because that's that moment that's recognizing some energetic lessons we can't fully embody until we are able to see and feel the expression of the difference of energy, right? But that's not something that we stumble into. It's something that we have to be very intentional as we lead towards. So for a lot of this energy, this could be coming from a lot of accountability and personal understanding. For feminine energy, this could be looking back at past experiences and feeling like you are too adaptable, you are too open to anything, which led to what have felt like an imbalanced connection. For masculine, this could be a moment where you're potentially recognizing and identifying, if this occurred, that there may have been a feminine energy that you had that had some kind of walls up around you, and that may have led to some of these separation points. But that was potentially because the feminine energy didn't feel like they were getting either honesty from you or intentionality. It takes both to be able to build an authentic energetic connection. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency, this is making sure that with all the changes that you've experienced between yourselves in the time that you've been in the divine union frequency, if you are still resonating at the same frequency, because there is an intensification that is occurring right now in the heart of the divine union frequency. This energy does not stay the same in the frequency. It intensifies. So this ability to check in with each other and say, I know things have changed. I know we have changed. Are you still energetically good with the intensity that we find ourselves in right now? This is that moment that is amplifying the difference between someone saying, yes, I am good internally with where we are, versus saying, and there's just some little things on the external that I would like to fix, versus the energy saying, I'm not in that, this level or degree of intensity is not one that I can feel like I can energetically maintain or match or sustain in the long term, right? Those are different things, but they can look very similar, which is why we see the energy right now in the divine union frequency is trying to utilize a lot of discernment to recognize the difference between those modalities. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our star energy in combination with our Ace of Pentacles. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with the Hierophant. The ability to adjust and to adapt and accommodate that way in the divine union is that moment that is the expression of the true, authentic, genuine commitment of the energy in the divine union frequency. Because it's almost that moment of saying to one another, it's okay if you're not okay. Because that's that moment of saying, we will figure out the accommodation point that will allow you to be in that point of being okay. What is important and what is viable and what is important more than anything is making sure that you're not putting up that false sense of saying that something is energetically okay when it isn't. Because that's that moment that, again, this is hard for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency. Because what did we say was happening yesterday? What did we say was happening yesterday that may feel a little counter to what I'm saying today? The divine union energy has learned the ability to hold and to bear the burdens of the self for the sake of compassion for the other energy that is around them. This is not energy that burdens others with their problems. This is not the type of energy that looks to just dump anything they can on anyone around them. This is energy that is basically a weight-bearing load. If you're in the divine union frequency, you're like a weight-bearing load. You potentially even carry the weight of others energetically to a certain extent. And it starts with the self. So why is the energy in the divine union frequency looking to one another with a sense of seriousness and saying, no, tell me, are you okay? Because that is the difference between someone saying, I am energetically okay, and feeling like they're like, yeah, I'm energetically, I love this. I could do this all day. Give me more weight, versus the energy that's like, I'm okay. And they're like, they're falling, they're stumbling, they're dragging themselves against the ground, they're like crawling, and it's like, you don't look like you're okay. No, I'm fine. Like, that's the difference between someone saying, like, I am okay, I've got this. Let's keep moving in this direction. I can handle this. Versus the energy that feels like, it is too much. But they're trying to maintain appearances by saying that everything is energetically fine. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy, utilizing that point is almost, again, feeling like that energetic act of compassion and being like, you need to be okay. We want you to be energetically okay. That's never something we want to facilitate, because coming into that space isn't sustainable, right? It doesn't allow for a sustainability point. It can create that, it could almost be the lead up to an energetic crisis, if you will. Masculine and feminine energy. Coming into the divine union frequency, you found this. You've energetically found it. You're there. Whatever you have right now is already exists. This is energy. I have to stress, this is energy coming into divine union that's basically already in the divine union frequency. A lot of this is all of just the part and parcel for what happens. This is what you get. This is like the packet you get when you come in. It's like, here's everything that you learned in the past that you couldn't understand is now going to be a lot clearer, because you're getting what you should be getting. Like, that's that moment, that feeling of energetic commitment between you and another energy is creating a lot of understanding on what may have happened prior to this point. Because that's that moment of being like, oh man, that's that point of recognizing and understanding your own path. And for some of the masculine and feminine energy, that's recognizing the places you made yourself too available that weren't in alignment with you, feminine. Masculine, this is that moment of potentially recognizing that you got out from feminine what you put in. If you put in confusion, you get confusion. If you put in lies, you get lies. If you put in ego, you get ego. That's that you get the mirror. It's really important that you make sure that the mirror is clean, because if not, you're not going to get a great mirror. It's not going to be fun. It's going to be a fun house mirror instead of a true mirror of self. Masculine and feminine energy in separation. This modality that we're seeing, this is the energy in separation that is committing to the pathwork of healing. And what's beautiful about this, I need to stress this is energy that's not doing this because they're not saying to themselves, I better heal so I find a partner. This is energy saying, I need to heal. Stop. I'm healing. Stop. I'm not doing this for someone else. Stop. I'm doing this for myself, because once we recognize something in the self that we want to correct, why would we not go ahead and correct it? Feminine energy doing that hard work right now, even again, not wanting to overgive. Feminine energy even potentially catching a moment with themselves that they're starting to feel that need or desire to overgive. And feminine is going, no. I give what I receive. This is the feminine energy saying, I have a lot to give. I just need to see that someone else wants to meet me in that capacity. And masculine energy in separation, this is that modality of you effectively recognizing and identifying. If you started leading forth with feminine recently and you're seeing a whole different side of feminine, you may be having a moment of being like, oh my gosh, which direction do I go in? Oh my gosh. Oh, I understand now what happened with me. Oh, what did I do? Oh my God. That moment of understanding is now again, it's like your GPS spins. It goes, I can't go back and fix everything. I don't know what I can fix. Do I go forward from here? This is that moment that you need to come into that sense of saying, what is it that I truly aspire and desire for? Where is my heart guiding me? Where am I going to abandon the outcome and recognize that I would move that way anyway? What is my intention? What is my purpose? What is my direction? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Temperance card in its reversal. I want nobody being triggered today. Look at this. Nobody gets triggered today. And our Two of Cups, because these are triggering situations. I told you. And we are so close to this eclipse. Intensity is high. Nobody is allowed to be triggered today. Okay? One card to clarify. Knight of Pentacles. I like this. Okay. Masculine and feminine in separation. Masculine in separation right now. That breakthrough. What happens when we can understand something better? What happens when we see something? So for a lot of the energy of the masculine in separation right now, that energetic breakthrough point, that aha moment, that understanding is that moment of recognizing, like taking that lightning of understanding and saying, where am I going to bring it forth? What am I going to do with this? How am I going to change? What can I do now that I see something and I can either amend it? And this is the energy of the masculine saying, I can amend it into the past. I can amend it into the future. But I also have to recognize I need to choose a direction, because I can't take this and start putting it everywhere again, because that's me falling back into my old patterns. That's me creating that confusing environment. That's me, again, building a situation or scenario where I can't be authentic and honest with everyone because I'm anyone because I'm available to everyone. This is that masculine energy needing to choose the energetic direction. And so we see that a lot of the masculine energy in separation right now is building that sense of purpose and understanding in terms of where that path lies right now. But what's beautiful about this, a lot of this energy is doing so for their own self, abandoning the outcome and just moving in the direction that they know that their heart is guiding them, and letting that be the point of energetic security. Regardless, again, this is the type of energy of someone coming forth to heal something, either a new connection or an old connection, saying, I know that there's always that ability. I don't know if this will be where it goes, but this is where I feel called to go. This is my energetic purpose. This is my path point. I need to come in to repair this, or I need to try to build this forward, or I haven't energetically found that yet. That ability to identify is what is setting the energetic path right now for a lot of the masculine energy, even in separation. And it feels like the sense of coming into energetic purpose, which is the direction that you choose to move into while relinquishing the potential outcome. That's the difference between saying, I'm moving in this way because I love moving in this way, versus I'm doing it and I hate it, but I want something from it. Masculine and feminine energy coming into is feminine energy in separation right now. This is the feminine energy, again, almost affirming and saying, I'll wait. This is the feminine energy affirming themselves, saying, if I hold back, what's meant for me is going to find me. This is the feminine energy feeling the anxiety, saying, but what if I don't give it, and then they don't give it in turn? This is the feminine energy saying no. This is the feminine energy reminding themselves that masculine energy, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, is not feminine energy. When masculine energy wants something, they will move forward towards it. And it will take them a lot. It will take a lot to get them off that path. Masculine, this is a feminine energy saying, I need the masculine energy that shows a consistency and intentionality that perpetuates their path going forward. This is the feminine energy saying, I need to see a masculine that when they have their heart set on something, not that they push against a boundary, but that they're not adaptable, that they're not changeable, that they're not just moving from like place to place to place, that they move with a sense of intentionality and purpose. That when you see that, you don't need to ask about it, because you can't not see it. You don't have to pull it out of someone. It's just something you have to be present and observant of. You can't fake it. And for a lot of the feminine energy, that's that moment of saying, I recognize that when someone moves towards me with that intentionality, it's not going to be a question of me missing it. It's literally me saying, I'm going to manifest an energy that I can't miss. Because that's the point. That's the purpose of the energetic signature. Masculine and feminine energy, this is the energy in the divine union, because even this is energy. It's not that everything is perfect at every moment. It's not like everything is sunshine and rainbows. I told you, this is the type of energetic signature that's already been tested to a certain extent. This is the energetic signature that has effectively, even over the last few days and the last few weeks, has had difficult circumstances and situations that have put these energies to the test. What has happened in that modality? Did these energies fracture? Did they fall apart? No, because these are not partnerships that are founded on the energy just feeling good all the time and everything just being easy peasy. This is the energy that says, I'm with a counterpart energy that has showed me that when things get difficult, they stay there. They don't run away. They don't leave. They don't avoid. They don't bypass. They continue to be consistent. For the feminine energy that's experienced that is the feminine energy of saying, like, this is that energetic rock of a masculine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. And that's the feminine energy that has almost seen that expression of a masculine that has set their intentionality on partnership with the feminine, and the feminine saying, I recognize that regardless, even if we go through those hurdles, those small things, that masculine energy is going to be on the other side of it. Masculine, and that in itself builds that sense of clarity to feminine on what might not necessarily have happened in the past that was creating all of that fractiousness potentially in past partnerships. Masculine energy, if you're experiencing this, you're recognizing this is something that you provide the feminine. Your own ability to remain persistent, your own ability to hold your own energetic line, to stay consistent in what you offer the feminine, even when it gets difficult, that is pathwork of the self. What does it bring in feminine to have a masculine towards them? You see the difference in the energetic resilience of a signature. You see how much it changes the feminine energy once they feel that sense of energetic security. Because that is the feminine energy feeling the sense of, again, a masculine that they can truly depend on. And I don't mean depend on as in lean on for everything. It's a feminine energy that feels that sense of trust that when things get difficult, they don't have to question where that energy will be. And for both of these energies right now, experiencing the counterpart, masculine, offering that stability to the feminine, that conviction being like the energetic contract between you and a feminine, and the feminine in kind, seeing the expression of the emotional stability that comes towards a feminine receiving that is that moment that almost builds that point of, again, articulation and clarification on spaces and places you may not necessarily have been ready to provide that to a feminine, but also seeing why that may have led to so much fracturing in the past. Masculine and feminine energy in separation. I mean, in the divine union right now, this is the energetic equivalent. I told you, heightened discernment right now. Looking towards one another and saying, are you good? Because this is that moment of seeing how much you have changed from entering the divine union frequency. And even now, feeling like you're not the same energy that first entered it. Looking at where you are now and saying, are you still comfortable? Given the fact that this frequency has shifted. It's still in the divine union frequency, but it does change. Are we still in alignment? Is this still space or place that you feel energetically comfortable and confident in? Or is this something that you need? Like, is this something that feels like it is dysregulating? So we see even now for a lot of the energy in this modality, that is that sense of saying, like, that's how you manifest the manifestation goal in the present. You feel that sense or that amplification of the joy in the present that says, like, again, there are things that can be adjusted and modified, but you don't just stay in a place of discomfort for the sake of what you feel might happen in the long term, right? That's that moment that feels like the difference of being happy in the moment versus energetically building in a way that feels like it's creating that sense of like discomfort every step of the way. We even see here for masculine and feminine, that is that articulation point of looking towards one another, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, and saying, does this feel comfortable for you? Is this a place of contentment? Are you content here? Is there something that we can tangibly do to accommodate that? Or is there something deeper happening that needs to be addressed? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between, and I have to say for all of these energies right now, I have to stress this, not getting triggered today is going to be the watchword. Because we see even now that this energy, this combination of the Two of Cups and the Temperance and Reversal, like this could be a lot of things right now. Getting a little bit of that snappiness, which we see may even prompt some of these conversations, particularly for the feminine energy. Because we've got a lot of reversals right now for feminine energy. So this could be a little bit more of the feminine energy going through a little bit of this internal process that may come out in external ways today. So being able to articulate and amplify what you're feeling so that it doesn't feel like you're subjecting another to that feeling, but instead you're discussing it, is going to be really important at this time. Continuing to get clarification on our Two of Cups in its reversal and our Hierophant. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now. There we go. That's the important thing here. Look at this. So we've got our Lovers card. Look at this. This is beautiful. Because what are we seeing that's happening right now? Even in the divine union. Energy in the divine union. We're effectively seeing this is that moment that the problem becomes the solution. The solution comes through the problem. And I'm going to stress this. What is the difference between what feels like it is a productive conflict versus an unproductive conflict? A productive conflict is when two energies want the same things. They have different ways of going about it. A non-productive conflict are two energies that want very different things, and then they just have a big conflict trying to pull each other onto the other side of the street. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy in the divine union, that amplification point of the difference in both wanting the same thing, having different ways of going about it, it is a positive because it is fortifying the energetic connection that is in the divine union. Because that's that moment of saying, I'm glad we had this talk. I'm glad we addressed this. This isn't energy in the divine union that turns a blind eye to something that's not working. This is looking at something and saying, what can we address and take care of to make this more positive and productive going forward? That is the fortification of partnership, fortified by conflict. Right? That's like putting the blade in the fire, like that's like forged in, getting stronger because of finding those weaknesses and then pouring the energetic work there. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This is the breakthrough point that you're having coming into divine union that's giving you clarity with anything that wasn't. That ability, and even now utilizing that point of nostalgia, potentially even looking back and referencing those things, not from a sense of being like, I wish I was there, to being like, wow, that was a mess. But fortunately, that thing that was a mess actually gives me like a lot of insight on what we could do here, because I don't want that to happen again. Oh boy. That's that moment that feels like that past experiences, not that you would ever wish for something not to go well. But even now, it feels like it serves a purpose because it's almost like the past experiences become the toolbox that you can pull the tools out of that you can use to repair the present experience. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is that point of utilizing the tools from the past to fix yourself. This is the moment of doing it to your own self is what we're energetically seeing right now. Because even now, this is feminine energy, feeling the ability of coming into connection right now with some new energy. This is either, these are energies right now of, again, feminine having some new karmic cycles starting up, but utilizing a huge amount of discernment in terms of what they're carrying forth with right now, because this is the energy of saying, I need to see the commitment. The first thing, the only thing I need, like this is the energy of feminine saying, first things first, you have to have commitment. You have to know what you want. You have to be approaching me. No, I'm not going to wait till the second date. What do you want? Like this is the energy going to the masculine being like, what do you want? If you can't tell me what you want, I'm not entertaining it. Because this is the feminine energy saying, I know what I want. And it's not too much for me to ask what you want. And in fact, I'm not going to tell you what I want until you tell me what you want. So that way I can make sure that we're on the same page. Masculine in separation. This could be that moment that you are determining what it is you want, because you're potentially recognizing, especially if you're trying to lead forth with feminine right now, that being honest is only half of it. If you're leading forth with a point of honesty to feminine, but not with intentionality, you're just confusing the feminine energy. Feminine's like, it seems like you're being very honest about the fact that you're very confused. Feminine energy that experiences masculine energy that's being very honest about the fact that they're confused will immediately put distance between themselves and that masculine for fear of protecting their own emotional, energetic heart space. This feminine energy being, I care about you. But you also seem deeply confused, and so I need to keep some energetic distance so that I don't move into that point of becoming very emotionally connected to someone that's very energetically confused, because that's me effectively giving my heart to someone who doesn't know where they're going, and I don't know where they're going to take it. Why would I give my heart to someone who doesn't know where they're going? That's crazy. That'd be like finding like someone on the street being like, can you hold this, and just letting them like go anywhere with it. This is the feminine being like, this is the feminine not wanting to put that cart. This is if the feminine was putting the cart before the horse before, being like, let me find out if I like you before I tell you what I want. That's a feminine being like, that was madness. That was madness. And so even now, this is masculine almost again saying, if I want a divine union with feminine, I need to be able to be honest. I need to put my heart on my sleeve. I need to offer this to the feminine. I need to be able to tell them this is what I want, and move with that sense and degree of intentionality if I want feminine to offer me same. If I want feminine to also give that. And if I don't do that and I find the feminine is also confusing, I need to ask, did I bring confusion to the situation? If I find a feminine that's being capricious or is showing a false sense of self, is that because the feminine doesn't feel energetically safe to be their authentic version of self around me? This is that moment of the masculine doing a lot of work in assessing past situations to recognize the patterns in terms of what you give is what you energetically receive from the feminine. Continuing to get clarification, final card for today's spread between our Knight of Pentacles in combination with our Lovers. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through with our Nine of Swords in its reversal, which I love to see for this eclipse period, because this feels like the energetic sigh of relief. It feels like that energetic sigh of relief. Feminine energy, again, even if this is a feminine energy that's like putting some energetic distance between energy that feels like it's coming towards them in a confused fashion, this is the feminine energy in separation, reminding themselves, saying, I'm not going to miss what's for me. I'm not going to miss a masculine energy that aspires and desires for divine union, because this is feminine energy almost reminding themselves, like getting a little like water on the face, being like, have I ever seen a masculine, like when a masculine moves towards something with conviction, like that's usually the problem. If anything, feminines recognize spaces and places in the past where the reason there was an issue in their relationship was because they saw that the masculine energy had their conviction and direction towards something. It just wasn't divine union. This is the feminine energy that's almost looking and saying, I need to find a masculine energy. I'm looking for the masculine energy that prioritizes divine union. That's feminine saying, I cannot teach the masculine energy to prioritize divine union. Some masculine energy doesn't want to prioritize divine union, and that's fine. I can't educate. This is the energy. This feminine saying, like, I just need to see that it's there. In whatever form it is, they need to look at it, at things with this. They have to want it. And this is the feminine energy that's affirming themselves in separation, saying, the energy that wants it, there's no way I'm going to miss it. Because that's the intentionality. That's literally saying, I'm manifesting the energy with the intentionality. That is that moment of saying, I'm not going to energetically miss the energy that's moving towards me with intentionality in order to come into divine union. That's the energy, feminine saying, that's the energy that'll be patient. That's the energy that'll be consistent. That is the energy that will show and express itself in that way. It's not something that I need to like offer forward to masculine. Masculine knows feminine energy wants divine union. This is the feminine energy almost saying to themselves, masculine energy knows that feminine energy wants divine union. So this is even now, that's more about the feminine saying, I need a masculine that's able to express that and is able to tell me what their ideal divine union is. If they can't lead forward in this way, then feminine's going, I just did myself a favor. Because that's the energy that like avoiding a problem before it energetically begins. Masculine energy, if you're in separation. This is that modality for masculine that if you're trying to lead forth from a place of honesty with feminine, and you feel like there's either feminine energy that's moving away from you a little bit because that honesty feels like it's like riddled with confusion. This is masculine energy. Again, remembering that difficult work of saying, if I want something from feminine, I need to be able to articulate what that is. And I better make sure it's truly what I want. Because if I give them some kind of like false sense of hope, then all I'm going to do is create confusion and chaos around us. If I give them some kind of false reality, they might not even want that. They may even try to accommodate for it. And then we're just building forth into something neither one of us desire and aspire for. So we see even now that that's a masculine energy saying, being able for me to put my heart on my sleeve. Anything that rejects it doesn't want it. It's not in alignment. That's the only way to find divine union. And it is very energetically frightening to be that vulnerable. But it's also the only way to do it. The only way. You have to show someone your dream to see if they share that dream. And so even now, that's a masculine saying, I want to be able to take that energetic risk, because how can I have my dream come true if I don't tell someone what my dream is? Masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now. This is feeling and finding someone that shares that energetic dream. What you create between yourselves is something that, again, what's beautiful about it is that it's not tangible. It's a dream you share with someone. This could be a lot of energy talking about what you dream and aspire for. And now you're just like, the rest of it feels like it's unnecessary, because it's more like, okay, we share the dream. That's the hard part. We found someone I share the dream with, being able to make that dream a material reality. Once you share that dream, it's not necessary because the dream exists between you. It would be nice though. This is why we see even now, that's that feeling of energetic harmony that you feel having union with someone. And then the excitement in terms of what you're going to be able to create from building that dream into reality. Whereas masculine, and that is the moment of energetic relief, because it builds that sense of clarity on what wasn't in alignment. Almost looking back and saying, I loved that person, but we had different dreams. I loved that person immensely, but I realized we had different dreams. Masculine and feminine energy in the heart of the divine union frequency. This is that moment that feels a little bit like a point of energetic catharsis, because this is almost the energy in the divine union saying, do we still share the same dream? And if we don't, that's okay too, because the love is always there. This is almost that expansion point that we see. So even now we see that a lot of the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency is saying, I want to make sure, even as we've progressed, even as we've changed, that we're still in alignment in relationality to what our dream is. Because that's that moment of saying, that isn't a moment of separation to say, oh, we don't share the same dream anymore, I guess we no longer love each other. No, this is that moment that feels like a modification point that's potentially happening for some of the energy in the heart of the divine union frequency that says the love will allow for some point of energetic expansion in whatever way it needs to facilitate that. Because the desire, when we energetically love someone, even beyond the place that we start to feel our dreams deviate, is being able to come into a way of trying to fulfill one another's dreams in any way, shape, or form that we can. So even now we see that for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency, that may take a little bit of energetic unpacking, but it's almost that moment that's utilizing that power or pathwork of deep energetic discernment to say, how can I care about you in a way that truly shows care and doesn't feel like you're just bearing something? Because that's the energy that says, I don't want you to feel like you have to bear something. I want you to feel like you're carrying something joyfully, and we can do that in any expression necessary. Bottom of the deck on this reading right now is 10 of Wands. It's hard. This card came up so heavily yesterday, because remember, one of the hurdles that's happening right now in the divine union frequency is the gift of the energy in the divine union can also be a little bit problematic, because what happens when we're very good at bearing difficulty? That's the difference that happens between someone joyfully carrying something, being able to navigate something that they're willing and able to carry, feeling some kind of energetic intensity and saying, this is fine. I'm fine. Yeah, I know it's a lot. I've got really strong shoulders, right? Versus someone feeling like they're carrying something and it is becoming too energetically heavy, and it is shouldering that weight that is starting to remove that sense of energetic optimism from a circumstance or situation. So we see that one of the things that we identify here is that point of discernment saying, Are you in a place where you're carrying that burden and it feels like an energetic joy? Or is this a moment that you're just like pushing through and it's becoming too much for you? That point that almost feels like that point of observation in terms of saying, like, I know that you're really good at carrying something, but are you truly happy carrying that? Is it something that you're doing because you love it, or is it something that you're doing because you have to? Masculine and feminine energy coming into the divine union frequency. This is that feeling of finding someone that can shoulder the same burden with you. What happens when you feel that? You feel that lightening because you feel like you're not carrying it all on your own. And the minute that you don't have to carry it all on your own, you suddenly might have to realize all the places that you were carrying that weight all on your own, right? That moment of looking back and saying, oh wow, the reason that didn't work was because we shared different dreams. And if I didn't feel like they were supporting me, it's because they weren't supporting my dream. They were supporting something else. We were walking together, but we weren't carrying each other's dreams. So we see even now that ability of recognizing the difference between walking with an energy, being with someone, versus actually feeling like you're building with someone, that you're growing with someone. It makes all the difference in the world, because it's a difference between walking beside someone and shouldering a weight together, walking with someone, truly building with someone. And when you receive that, when you finally have that with another energy, only then do we start to feel that point of clarity and looking back and being able to understand why something didn't work in that capacity prior. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is the energy in separation carrying that burden on their own. And even now, it's that moment of basically energetically saying, and even now we see feminine energy moving into that modality of immediately feeling that need or desire to want to start to carry the load of another. Feminine almost recognizing that, feeling almost that sense of wanting to say, looking at someone and being like, oh, I bet if I know him long enough, if I did this, maybe if I, no. Like almost stopping themselves before they start saying, I can't do that. I can't energetically do that, because that's the feminine saying, I'm catching myself doing it again. I'm thinking, well, what if I did this? What if I did that? What if I made this accommodation? And this is the feminine energy almost saying, I can't. No. The minute I start saying to myself, what if I could do something here? What if maybe if I just give something a little bit more time? This is the feminine energy reminding themselves and saying, I know, no, that's me pouring concrete on it. That's me saying I'm okay with the way I find you. That's not me saying this isn't me coming towards a masculine that's confused and saying like, I'm okay, because that's a masculine saying, oh, they accept my confusion, instead of the feminine being like, I'm hoping that if you're with me long enough, I can convince you not to be confused. Masculine. This is that modality that, again, it feels like there's some energetic heavy lifting here, because this is all about the direction that you want to go into. This feels like a lot of intensity entering a lot of the masculine energy's pathwork right now, because once you recognize something of this nature, when you feel the energetic difference, when you feel the energetic intensity of what you can do and what you can create when you're honest with the feminine, it's that moment that feels like the amplification, truly asking yourself, what is it that you desire? Because that's that moment that you recognize to a certain extent, when you move with intentionality, you are all in. You have to be all in. When you're all in, you're all in. It doesn't leave for a lot of pathwork of deviation. So even now, this could be feeling like the masculine, feeling the energetic weight of commitment in relationality to building forth in that way. Almost saying to themselves, am I energetically ready for that? For some of the masculine energy and separation, there could be an observation where you say, I don't think I'm ready for divine union. But even so, masculine being able to articulate and say that to feminine, even that is an intentionality of pathwork, because all of it requires you to be able to tell someone what that energetic dream is, and regardless of what that shape that is, to be able to find a counterpart that says, I'm good with that. Me too. It's hard when you do that, because it feels like you're taking on a lot of energetic burden, but it also makes sure that you're moving in the right direction. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here to experience it. Just a reminder, If you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, gracestrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber name at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I want to thank you guys so much for being here with me today and sharing with me in these messages. And we will do this again